Millions plan nationwide. No Kings, rallies Saturday. Millions are expected to take part in No Kings rallies across over 2,500 U.S. cities on Saturday, October 18, protesting what supporters call the Trump administration's authoritarian drift. Organizers led by Indivisible and a coalition of progressive groups hope the coordinated events send a clear message: America has no kings. The upcoming protests follow a June mobilization that organizers say drew millions. Republican figures such as House Speaker Mike Johnson and others have criticized the rallies, labeling them "Hate America" events and suggesting ties to Antifa or pro-Hamas groups. Organizers strongly reject those characterizations, emphasizing the demonstrations will be peaceful, lawful, and focused on issues like civil rights and executive overreach. As law enforcement prepares responses, with some states even deploying National Guard units, tensions run high. But for many participants, Saturday represents a show of grassroots resistance and a reminder of democratic accountability in a moment of political impasse.
My love for the United States compels me to attend the protest.
My senior apartment building residents are physically unable to get downtown for the core protest, but we are protesting on the highway by our building. The youngest of us is 78. We will be there.
This is nothing new. Hitler called the Germans that opposed him anti-Germany.
From the Netherlands, Europe, I wish you all success with your upcoming protest activities for Saturday. My thoughts are with all of you. Make it massive. This regime is a threat for the U.S. democracy, as well as for global stability.
Freedom of 1, Speech 2, Religion 3, Press 4, Assembly 5, Petition the government.
These guys are playing for the most radical, small and violent base in the country. Projection much? Every accusation is a confession.
We don't hate America, we are Americans. We disagree greatly with the current government administration. Civil disobedience becomes a sacred duty when the state becomes lawless or corrupt. Gandhi, time to make some good trouble, America, because your country depends on it. There's a house in my town where the person can't attend the peaceful protest but wanted to participate. They decided to make neon poster signs and put them on the windows of the house. One announced the protest date October 18th and other poster signs on windows. They did this to encourage others on the neighborhood to do likewise at their yards, especially if they can't attend. I like the idea and want to encourage people to not only protest but make yard, house signs all through the neighborhoods.
Supreme Court signals potential limits on race in district maps. The U.S. Supreme Court is currently hearing Louisiana versus Calais, a high-stakes case challenging whether Louisiana's court-mandated second-majority black congressional district unlawfully prioritized race over constitutional limits. The state's revised map, adopted in 2024 after courts struck down the 2022 plan for diluting minority voting strength, is under renewed scrutiny. During oral arguments, several conservative justices, including Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, questioned how long race-conscious districting remedies should persist. They probed whether limits should be placed on indefinite use of racial criteria in redistricting. Louisiana state officials admitted race played a central role in shaping the district, but now argue that the remedy was constitutionally necessary and time-limited. Civil rights groups caution that curtailing Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act could fundamentally weaken protections against minority voter suppression. The case's outcome, expected next spring or summer, could reshape how race is considered in maps nationwide and redefine judicial oversight of redistricting under the Equal Protection Clause.
I'm Asian, where's my special district?
Yes, end racism.
Congressional maps are supposed to reflect the population of the state, not to give political parties unfair advantages.
Using race to draw district maps is, by definition, racist.
Ending racial preferences is not racism. 60 years is enough.
Democrats about to lose seats.
Welcome to the age of merit. Those without any are gonna have a rough time.
This country is about everyone, not just the black and the brown.
Global leaders discuss China's new rare earth export controls. Global economic leaders have convened in Washington to coordinate responses to China's new rare earth export curbs, which took effect on October 9, 2025. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. is collaborating with European nations, Australia, Canada, India, and other democratic partners to diversify critical mineral supply chains. Trade Representative Jameson Greer warned that the rules amount to a global supply chain power grab, and that the U.S. and its allies will not accept unilateral impositions. The new Chinese regulations, embodied in Commerce Ministry's Announcement Number 61, impose licensing requirements on shipments containing 0.1% or more of specified Chinese rare earths or using technologies originating in China. Though partial enforcement begins immediately, the full licensing regime is slated for implementation by December 1st. The controls cover multiple rare earth elements, magnets, and related components critical to tech and defense. Diplomatically, the moves precede a likely Trump-Xi meeting during the upcoming Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea. At the moment, Beijing insists its measures address national security and dual-use concerns, while Washington threatens countermeasures and presses for a rollback, even as it treads carefully to avoid full decoupling.
USA put tariffs to 165 countries, highest to China, and now is saying is China versus the world?
It is not China against the world. It is China against USA, and we all know it.
China versus the world? What country started a trade war against the world?
No rare earths for U.S. military makes the world better and safer.
Bullies cry after being bullied. We want to help China, not to hurt. Ha 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 ha.
Not on any side, but such hypocrisy. You stopped GPU exports to China, they stopped your rare earths.
Let's do a thought experiment. Let's imagine the US and China switched position, that the US owns the rare earth and China needs to import it. Will the US allow China to have even an ounce? I say no, not a chance. Agree or not?
You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time.
Government shutdown enters 16th day amid funding impasse. The U.S. government shutdown entered its 16th day as Senate Republicans and Democrats remain deadlocked over funding. In an effort to revive momentum, Senate Republicans advanced a standalone defense funding bill, estimated at $852 billion, but it was blocked by Democrats 50-44 for failing to address healthcare priorities. Senate Majority Leader John Thune reportedly offered Democrats a vote on extending Affordable Care Act premium subsidies if they agreed to reopen the government, though he emphasized he could not guarantee its passage. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson lambasted what he described as a protest by House Democrats in his Capitol foyer, an incident that allegedly involved confrontations with a Capitol police officer. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries declined to denounce the demonstration. As the impasse drags on, non-essential government functions remain shuttered, and hundreds of thousands of federal employees are furloughed without pay. With continuing resolutions repeatedly failing, the standoff shows no signs of abating, and many await resolution before critical public services and aid programs begin collapsing under pressure.
No, do not cave.
No deal, leave it closed and fire the deep state.
They shouldn't be allowed to take the weekend off or any day for that matter until they open the government back up. This is ridiculous. They should be forced to stay until they can get along.
Do not cave to this nonsense. Hold them accountable for this outrageous behavior. Simple: stop all checks for the Senate and the House. Aren't Republicans the majority in both houses?
Never negotiate with the Dems. Never.
Quit paying these congressional representatives and senators until a budget is signed into law. And make it a mandatory forfeiture of pay for every day the government is shut down.
Keep this garbage government shut down. It's not doing anything but destruction anyway.
We need term limits now.
Public executions in Gaza draw global condemnation after U.S. brokered truce. Hamas fighters carried out public executions of suspected collaborators in Gaza shortly after a U.S.-mediated ceasefire and prisoner hostage exchange took hold, with verified videos showing at least 7 to 8 men shot in the street. France condemned the killings as summary executions, and Germany called them acts of terror. The ceasefire's first phase saw the release of 20 living Israeli hostages and nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. Disputes persist over the return of deceased hostages' remains. Hamas says rubble and tunnel collapses hinder recovery, while Israel insists all bodies be returned before advancing to the next stage. U.S. statements have sharpened, with the president warning of severe consequences if the killings continue and a senior U.S. commander urging Hamas to halt executions. Hamas, meanwhile, rejects disarmament demands and is tightening internal control, deepening mistrust and casting doubt on the ceasefire's durability.
And this is the society our left is so intent on promoting? Utterly depraved.
The genocide against Palestinians is being done by its own people.
Confirmed. A religion of peace. Not one liberal in America protesting this. Where are all the liberal protesters for Hamas?
Where is the outrage from the left? Palestinians are being executed in the streets and not a single person is protesting. They never cared about Palestinians, only hate for Israel in the USA.
No Arab government would ever entertain the thought of allowing Hamas into their countries.
Global race for rare earth security intensifies after China's export clampdown. China's expanded export controls on rare earths, enacted in October 2025, are intensifying tensions with the United States and pushing nations like India to shore up their own supply chains. U.S. officials warn Beijing is weaponizing critical minerals, while Indian authorities are rolling out a national critical mineral stockpile scheme aimed at building a 2-month buffer of these vital elements. Defense and procurement records show the Pentagon is now pursuing up to $1 billion in critical mineral acquisitions to secure defense supply lines, though this initiative is still in its early procurement stage. Meanwhile, Washington accuses China of coercion and supply chain control, even as Beijing insists its licensing regime defends national security and prevents resource diversion. While official details remain limited, the broader picture is clear. Nations once dependent on Chinese rare earths are now racing to secure alternatives, marking a shift from reactive trade policy to proactive strategic planning.
U.S. attack China with tariffs and whole world with tariffs by weaponizing economy. Why should China keep quiet? China is only protecting her own interests. U.S. weaponizing the dollar and that's fine, but China weaponizing the rare earth is illegal and unreliable?
Lul, China versus the world, what a joke. U.S. politicians act like Jews. If someone else gets ahead of them, they accuse them of being evil. The hypocrisy in the U.S. is ridiculous. I think the U.S. is on its way into the gutter.
The U.S. is the biggest bully. The U.S. started this trade war. China will not be bullied or capitulate. Let's see who's the last one standing when the dust settles. The US is already hurting.
Give Xi the Peace Prize. He single-handedly has made the world safer by making the US unable to make weapons of mass destruction.
This isn't the 70s. Can someone tell Trump and America government? Trump weaponizing tariffs on China first and now dare to blame China for weaponizing rare earth tariffs. Who are you to play innocent victim?
U.S. commander urges Hamas to disarm, calls moment a historic opportunity for peace. Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of U.S. Central Command, on October 15 called on Hamas to suspend violence against Palestinian civilians and disarm, without delay, describing the current moment as an historic opportunity for peace. His remarks echoed elements of President Trump's newer Gaza peace proposal, which envisions a demilitarized Gaza under a technocratic oversight body. Cooper's statement came amid reports that Hamas had executed over 30 individuals it accused of collaborating with Israeli forces, actions that raised alarm among international observers. U.S. officials warned that continued killings and noncompliance with disarmament demands could jeopardize the ceasefire's fragile stability. While the Trump-led peace plan demands Hamas relinquish military power, the group has consistently rejected full disarmament, maintaining that it must preserve security control during a transitional period. The gulf between these demands and Hamas's positions points to a standoff that could unravel recent diplomatic gains unless both sides engage in serious compromise.
Where is the left to talk about this? At such times they keep quiet.
The press is trying not to mention that after Israel left Gaza, civilians are being killed in the open. The food shortages aren't enough. They have always tortured the Palestinians and Israel is paying the price. We have to eliminate this terrorist group. Congratulations Trump, you have made a difference since you returned to the presidency of the USA.
This Hamas genocide won't be treated by the left-wing press as it really is?
Where are the Palestine Free people to protest with all their might against Hamas violence against the Palestinian people? False supporters, nobody cares about Palestine, they only militate for their political ideology.
I think the job should have already been done. You can't trust terrorists.
Poor good Palestinians, let Trump come urgently to Gaza.
Hamas means death, blood, transgressions, sacrifice. They won't change the evil already in their blood.
Southern Command Chief Holsey to retire early amid Venezuela tensions. Admiral Alvin Holsey, commander of U.S. Southern Command, is set to retire on December 12, 2025. According to an announcement by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Holsey assumed command of SOUTHCOM in November 2024, meaning his tenure will be shorter than the 3 to 4 year norm for such assignments. His retirement arrives as U.S.-Venezuela tensions escalate, with a significant American military presence reinforcing the Caribbean front. The administration has destroyed multiple drug smuggling vessels reportedly linked to Venezuela and deployed additional naval assets and troops to the region. Some reports suggest internal friction over strategy and targeting may have contributed to Holsey's decision, though no official explanation has been provided. While his departure is sudden, Pentagon leadership praised his 37 years of naval service. Observers note that his exit, amid a period of assertive U.S. efforts against trans-Caribbean narcotics trafficking, raises questions about continuity and command during ongoing regional operations.
That's the biggest oil reserve in the world. I've seen this movie in the Gulf War and the Saddam assassination.
The U.S. doesn't want democracy in Venezuela. They want cheap oil stolen via coup against Maduro. That's what the US offers: wars, looting, coups, then they put their companies there and elect a Guaido puppet. Just like they did with Lava Jato, Temer, the pre-salt given to them for $1 trillion reais. Latin America must stay tuned. People want peace and not war. This world is getting harder and harder to stay in.
It's cattle winking at the misfortune of others. Our press normalizes this absurdity. It's so absurd that the US military chief has resigned.
Trump wants the oil. Nobody's saying Venezuela is legitimate, but it's going to start killing people.
They are attacking and destroying boats without knowing for sure that they are carrying drugs. Eliminating people summarily. He's taking precautions. He doesn't want to be held responsible afterwards.
U.S. bombers fly near Venezuela amid rising tensions. 3 U.S. Air Force B-52 bombers were tracked on October 15 flying in orbits off the coast of Venezuela, a show of force amid escalating tensions. The flights lasted around 2 hours in international airspace, according to U.S. officials and open flight tracking data. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva responded by defending Venezuela's sovereignty, saying that no external power should intervene in another nation's affairs and warning that military posturing in the Caribbean is a destabilizing factor. Venezuela, in turn, increased its naval deployments and highlighted the movements of U.S. warships and aircraft. These developments come despite ongoing diplomatic overtures. While the U.S. claims its operations are aimed at interdicting drug trafficking, Latin American observers remain wary. The timing and nature of these flights raise questions about escalation, strategy, and risk along a tense maritime frontier.
The U.S. wants to stop drug trafficking in Venezuela and consequently organized crime in Brazil.
If the US wanted to invade Brazil, there are many Brazilians who would help. These people don't know what a war is. They don't know the chaos that will occur in the region. The US has always lied to make its military interventions. Everyone knows that the aim is to steal the world's largest oil reserves.
There is no intervention by another country, there is invasion and war.
Trump could take advantage of this and take Lula along with Maduro. Brazil would appreciate it.
I think Brazil is going to need an atomic bomb.
A democracy defending a dictatorship. The fight against drug trafficking is a facade. The US's real objective is to control Venezuela's oil reserves.
Indonesia Finance Minister addresses investor concerns, announces new initiatives. Indonesian Finance Minister Purbaya Yudi Sadewa recently announced the creation of a special team under the Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs to oversee priority development programs and address business complaints. The team, according to government statements, will monitor major projects and hear reports from entrepreneurs, holding weekly reviews to identify and resolve systemic bottlenecks. While some reports have suggested he's met with major banks and institutions to discuss investment climate challenges, these meetings are not yet detailed in public records. During a recent press conference, Purbaya criticized Danantara Indonesia's reliance on SOE dividend income to purchase government bonds rather than channeling funds into new projects. Danantara's CIO, Pandu Patria Sharir, defended this strategy by pointing to limited liquidity and project preparation time, noting that the bond market currently offers the fastest execution path for capital deployment. If fully realized, these measures could reflect a shift toward more responsive fiscal governance, aimed at breaking bureaucratic logjams and boosting investor confidence. But the effectiveness of these reforms will depend on follow-through, transparency, and consistent dialogue with the private sector.
Money from the state, made to buy state bonds, just turning around the investment, if only like this. Why do you use the formation of Danantara?
I'm happy to see officials fuss, so they feel how it feels to be complicated like the people always feel. If Prabhaya said, if you are only looking for Kwan from bonds, just looking for interest. Why form Danantara? Let's just return the dividends to the national budget so that they can be poured into dry places in the community.
If you just want to be safe and keep buying bonds, a pedicab driver can also do it. What is clear is that some of the money has been shared with conglomerates. They do not understand the people's economy, because they are used to being supported by Himbara with official catabellis. If they are told to fight directly where they can afford it,
Syrian president meets Putin in Moscow, seeks new ties. Syrian interim president Ahmad al-Shara visited Moscow on October 15, meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in their first formal encounter since Bashar al-Assad's ouster. During the talks, al-Shara emphasized his intent to restore and redefine Syria's relationship with Russia, affirming that Damascus will honor existing bilateral agreements. Discussions reportedly touched on Russia's military bases in Syria, energy cooperation, reconstruction support, and economic ties. Al-Shara's government seeks to maintain Russian presence at strategic sites like Latakia and Tartus in exchange for logistical and technical assistance. Putin, in turn, praised Syria's stability efforts and underscored Russia's interest in continued influence in the region. While some media speculate that al-Shara may press for Assad's extradition, the Kremlin declined to comment on whether that topic arose in the meeting. The visit signals a pragmatic turn. Syria's new leadership appears willing to engage Moscow despite deep historical tensions, navigating a delicate reset of alliances in a post-Assad era.
Don't forget to remember Allah.
glory be to God, the exalted, the humiliated, and He is all-powerful. 10 months ago, who would have expected or thought that such a thing would happen?
Now Israel must respect ICC warrant and sovereignty, territorial integrity of Syria, Golan, in Palestine, West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza Strip. End illegal settlers and keep peace. The president is going to get the sheep and go back to Syria.
There are no permanent enemies, just permanent interests.
They be playing 4D chess these days.
This is a smart person.
This is crazy.
Well, this is interesting.